49, last day of level 3. Yeah, and I'm joined here by the lovely Sandra McNair from the Yarny Army in YarnHB Bay. Hey, Sandra. Now I'm going to cover off. So we've just been having a quick chat. I'm going to cover off a little bit of housekeeping first, and I've gone and dropped something after all. Oh, there, I've left it over there because I took a picky of it. I'm going to cover off some housekeeping first before we launch into the launch in with Sandra, because I have just come off a Teams meeting with our Skeins team this morning to get everything knuckled down for hours and stuff. And I know our locals, and particularly Sandra's team, are hanging out to see when they can get back in store. So we have been able to confirm that. So with level 2, there are still cautious elements that we need to take. So one of the things that we've discussed with the team, because we've got still massive demand online, and that will maintain. And we've also had one of our staff that have chosen to retire. They've loved lockdown so much and being in the garden and doing things for grandchildren that they are not coming back. That's right, because yay them. So it means that obviously we just need to sort staffing and a few things out. So to that end, it means that we will be open tomorrow from 10 a.m. and we're actually going back to our old hours of 10 till 2, Monday through Friday, and no Saturdays, just for this level 2 period. And we're doing that so it gives us a chance to get everything locked down in the shop. Claire and Kirsty are there today, restocking, setting up procedures in terms of making sure that everything is safe for you guys, laying out waiting areas to help with distancing and all of those sorts of things to make sure that if you choose to come and visit us, it is nice and safe. But the good news about, of course, us being open now 10 till 2, Monday through Friday, is those pick-up in stores. I know a number of you have been ordering for pick-up in store and to wait for this day. You can pop in at any time and go and collect that order between those hours, no problem at all. However, if you can't come in and see us, we do have the $3.95 local courier option for Hawke's Bay. All you need to do is pop courier in the search box on the Skeins website and that ticket will come up. You just purchase the ticket and then pop your order number in the comments box and we will actually send it out to you if you're unable to make it in store. But the good news is you can now call in and come and see the team. The other thing we encourage you to do as well is do feel free just over the next, because I think we might be in level 2 for a weeny while, is that if you want to make sure that you want to secure something, you can order it for pickup in store. It generally takes 48 hours for us to process that to get it out to the shop. So don't feel that you can't order something, have it sitting there, then come in and have a bit of a browse, pick up your parcel, and if you need to get anything else, you can do that while you're there. But it just means that it could cut down the time that you're in store. So that's sort of the housekeeping kind of stuff. We've got... everybody will be there. We'll have hand sanitizers. There will be a check-in and log and all of those sorts of things. But if you're just nice and patient with us, that's what we will be doing. But more importantly, too, it means that we'll be able to start doing the pick up and drop off of packs back for Hawke's Bay. Yay! But look, first, what I thought, Sandra and we thought we would talk about. I wanted to get Sandra on because we support a number of charities, and both national and local. Sandra and her team are the biggest local charity that we support. But I think I wanted to talk, Sandra, about, firstly, tell us what you do with your team specifically, but just the importance that charity knitting holds for the community as a whole.
It is. Charity knitting's got two sides to it. We've got this big need in New Zealand and around the country. Hawke's Bay's pretty awful, but we're dealing with that. But there's two sides to it. We've got lots of fantastic knitters across the country who knit for themselves and knit for their family, and they often think, I really would like to do something else. In this way, they can knit for their community. So there's that social aspect. You are connected with all sorts of different knitters. You are supporting your community and looking after your community. And then we have this need. And then groups like us link the two together, and get them out there, get those woolies out there. We're a little bit different to other groups in that we have one-on-one contacts with our community groups that we deal with. So we go and have conversations. We deal predominantly with a friend of mine who is a social worker, and I'll sit down with her and go, tell me, where's the need? What do people need? Where is it? And she'll say, this group's doing a really good job with this age range and this is here. And then we go and say, okay, tell us what you need. So we're making specifically what the community needs.
Yeah, and
those wee ones.
And that is so important because it's one of the things I know from my perspective. I mean, honestly, every week we get just requests for more and more people wanting yarn for community groups and for charities. And it's the hardest thing in the world because, I mean, we want to give yarn to everybody, but the reality of it is that we can't. So from our perspective, we need to look at, for me, it's very much end game. So making sure that one of the things that I find is that the road is paved with good intentions, but not always everything gets to end user and end destination, which is why we love you so much. And the Kiwi Family Trust, which we work at from a nationwide level, is because one of the things that you've sorted out is that, as you said, the element of need and identifying very clearly where the need lies, but more importantly, how to get the finished product. And also, too, you work through how the encouragement, the level of encouragement that you guys have as a group, too, is one of the things that I find really impressive, because your groups of knitters will come in and they are quite prolific, and you don't seem to have issues with if they pick up a pack or if they're knitting off their own accord, actually getting completion of garments and getting those garments out and distributed, because that I know is something that other groups struggle with.
No, and I think because we have such a big group, there is no requirements to being part of our group. We run predominantly off our Facebook page. So you can go to Yarny Army NZ and find us there, and there's a link to our group, and you can ask to join. And there's just 2 little questions, just because I have oddballs from the other side of the planet who want to play, and that's just not going to happen. So it'll just say, you understand that we knit for kids in need in Hawke's Bay, which is what the Yarny Army does, and that you are able to help. And you just tick those little boxes and then you come. And what we do is each month we might have a focus area. So this month we're just celebrating our fabulous knitters and everything that they do, because we have some people who have the absolute luxury to be able to knit lots and lots and lots and lots, which I'm of. And there are others like myself, who is a glacial knitter, who takes a very long time to do anything, because I work full time and I have a 5-year-old and I don't.
And also, knitting isn't your first craft. You're actually
no. I was a hooker, and
you're a hooker. You're a crocheter. Exactly.
Yeah. In fact, I've got hooking on my needle right now. So yes, it takes me a long time to do anything, but we want to celebrate those people who manage to squeeze and doing 1 hat for us a month. We love that. And we also love those people who have the time to do lots and lots. So we have weekly challenges or focuses on what we're doing, and we get people to share what they're doing, and it just creates this fabulous community buzz.
Now that I think also too is the other benefit as well, is that community. Like I know for us with the Skeins community, it's something that I'm extremely protective over. In fact, all of us are really protective over, because it's such a wonderful group, and we have a whole heap of crossover between our Skeins community and the Yarny Army one. And it is, you've got a wonderful community there, and a lot of your knitters during this time have been either by themselves, or the only social contact that they're getting is within that community. Yeah,
and that's been the lovely side of what we do, and that's what we love, that connection. During level 4 we couldn't get out and get wool to people. That we just had to abide by those rules, and also being safe, being aware of the woolies that we are giving are going to vulnerable wee ones, so we need to do things properly. So before lockdown, as soon as we heard it was coming, we got in, and
I know you were into your little car. Sandra's got a cute little car. Honestly, she turned up to get the yarn from us, and I'm like, where are we going to squeeze this?
No problem. I can get that stuff in there. So we had my car packed to the gunnels.
Literally to the roof.
Yeah. And drove back to my house, got packs together, stopped off at our different committee members. So the Yarny Army's run predominantly by a committee of 4 of us. Stopped in at each of their houses and went, here's your bags, here's your wool. Got it together, and then got out delivering to our members as much wool as we could. So then they were good to go for lockdown. And then once we hit level 3, those same committee members, we've been dropping stuff off. Like I'll get a phone call and go, I'm out of wool. It's okay. We'll do a letterbox drop. I'll drop it in there. You put your finished items in, and and off we go. In my little shop here in Havelock, we've had all sorts of people and bringing their woolies in, all bagged up beautifully for us, because that's what we need at the moment. We need it bagged up, and it's been great. We've been able to get stuff out and keep that contact going, because the Yarny Army was born from YarnHB. So YarnHB, a friend and I created, 4 years ago. I was a mum, first-time mum, and my little boy was 1, and I'd spent years working, and then to be at home on my own with this child, I needed to get out of the house.
I'm so hearing you. So that's me too. That's how I ended up at the games.
Yeah. I needed to escape. And so my friend started teaching people to crochet. We saw there were so many people wanted to learn. Luckily, I'm friends with Ellie, who owns the Eddie's Cafe, and she's like, oh, I crochet too. Maybe we could have something at my shop. So we started from there, and we had 24 people the first time, and it was huge. And we made this fabulous community. And then from there, we realized, we've got all these talented people. There's this community need. Let's marry the two. So Yarny Army is our social events where we get together and hang out, and we go to cafes and have coffee and cake and knit, and we go to the pub and we have a nice glass of something, and we knit. And then we created the Yarny Army from there. So the Yarny Army's been rocking for, I think this is our 3rd year now that we're going. And each year we get bigger and bigger, and more people come on board, which is fabulous. That's what we love.
And you've also had good corporate support. Like, I mean, we've supported you, I think, pretty much for the whole 3 years. But also Hawke's Bay Airport, Regional Airport too. They have been, the last 2 years, they've provided a huge amount of support. And during that August nights last year, it was really awesome, because I was out to the airport a lot collecting VIP. And the Hawke's Bay Airport, for those who haven't visited Hawke's Bay Airport for a little while, has been under construction, it seems like forever, this extension. And the first thing they got completed was the arrivals hall with a proper baggage carousel, which is really posh now.
Right excited.
But there's an area there, and you guys had a wonderful display there.
And that was their idea. They were fabulous. The guys at the Hawke's Bay Airport have been brilliant. They love the idea that we are purchasing wool from you guys. So it's local wool, produced by our local knitters, looking after our local kids. So it's this fabulous circle that works really well. And they were so excited. They were like, do you think you can come and yarn bomb for us? And we're like, we don't need to be asked. We'll come. So we decorated their arrivals hall, and it was just fabulous. So they're great. And then we've got other people who've been out selling pine cones to raise money for us. And then we've got lots of people quietly in the background. And Yarny Army's often stealth. We do things under the radar. And a lot of our members are like that. They will come in and give us piles of woolies or piles of wool, and they don't want anyone else to know. They're just doing it. And we've got members who do that with supporting us. I have one fabulous member who gives me $5 every week into our business account, to be able to go and buy wool. Doesn't want any noise or any praise. That's just what she does to help. And that's what we love.
And that's the really nice thing, I think, about any organisation, anyone at home as well. Like often, and I think this lockdown, I've seen it with the emails and inquiries we get. They'll say we're picking the needles up for the first time because they're wanting something useful to do with their time, but then they don't necessarily know where to channel it. And so here in the Bay, we have you guys, but I mentioned the Kiwi Family Trust before, and I know that you deal with Barbara, and so do I. And the Kiwi Family Trust are a wonderful organisation based out of Christchurch. And what I love about them is they're this incredible conduit to be able to get to where the need is. And I know that, like last year, they had a huge big push. They worked very closely with Plunkett. So let's touch on that a little bit, because you and I were talking before off air, is that often people will come in and want to knit for one sector, but that's not necessarily where the demand is. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, we hear that often. People will say, I want to knit for the neonates, for the skiboo. And that's fabulous. That's absolutely fabulous. But when you look at, and I'm a geek for numbers and statistics, so I will download all the stats, and the amount of kids that who need those woolies is like this. The amount of regular, average everyday kids who need our woolies is like this.
Yeah.
It's ginormous, the need, as compared to what neonates need. But often when we talk about charity knitting, people think about neonates, but it's those regular baby stuff, newborn stuff.
Yeah.
Newborn packs is what's needed. But what Plunket tells me, and this is where we have those conversations, they tell us it's that 3 to 6 month bracket that they desperately need stuff. They describe it as hen's teeth, because when somebody has a baby, they're often given clothes or given, auntie so-and-so knitted a jersey for them. But that family circumstances hasn't changed in 3 months, that they're then able to go and afford to buy woolies. But that need is there. So being able to knit for that bigger age group and give it to Plunket is fabulous, because that helps that family in that time. So that's why we encourage people to work with the Kiwi Family Trust, or just if you want to knit for charity, if you're in Hawke's Bay, we would love you. But if you're outside of Hawke's Bay, knit for your local Plunket and take it to your Plunket and give them the option. Say, look, here it is. Here's my woolly gift, and we call them woolly hugs. Here's my woolly hug. Either use it to give to a family who needs it, or pop it in their shop. They often have shops there, because what COVID has done, and our economy is going to show, we're going to have a lot more people who are out of work, but they're not at that need where they need community support, where they need support from agencies. They still have, and they've got that pride, and they want to be able to look after their families themselves, which is fabulous, and that's what we want. So we want to encourage that. So if you give your finished items to your local hospice op shop or Plunket, that allows them to sell them at a really cheap rate. So that family who's struggling at the moment and needs a hand, but knows they need to get their kids in some nice woolies, and they might have $5 to spare to do it, they're then able to purchase those woolies themselves. So they've got that pride and that security in being able to provide for their children themselves. And then you've helped a family out.
Yeah,
so
and I know, and also, and you touched on that. I mean, in most areas, you will have either a hospice op shop, a Red Cross op shop, or a Plunket op shop and your Plunket office. So you've got plenty of places to choose from to be able to get that distribution there. Exactly. If you can't and you're outside of Hawke's Bay, do reach out to the Kiwi Family Trust, and they should be able to point you in the direction of something in your local area that will be able to happily accept that. And I think that's really important, knowing that you're able to actually get that to where the need is required.
And that's often it. We often assume we know where things are needed. In fact, we were having this conversation the other day, and somebody said, I'm sure they need some in that area. And we went, okay, let's find out. Let's ask the question. So then as the committee, we go and we chat to the local social worker, and they say, actually, no, that area is okay. It's this area here that needs it. And you went, didn't know that. Okay, we will target that and get it where it needs to go. So it's having those conversations. But the average knitter doesn't need to worry about doing that. They can use the Kiwi Family Trust, or they can use us to get it where it needs to go.
And a lot of it too, like for example, Barbara sends me a carton of stuff every year, which is often larger size stuff. So they'll get larger size bits and pieces in. And one of the areas of need is the East Coast, or Tairāwhiti, which is where I'm originally from, and I have a lot of family there. And I've got an aunt who's a public health nurse up there. And it's really good, because it means that I can organise to get stuff up to through the my auntie network. Anyone that knows my family knows that network is very large in Malau. But I can get that stuff up to them. They then can get it to the local district nurse or health nurse, which is working in those homes, directly in those homes where the greatest need is. And they're able to actually distribute that stuff directly. And that, for me, has been one of the keys, I think, with really effective charity knitting, is that.
Yeah, and that's what's important. We, as the Yarny Army, made the decision at the beginning that we only give to groups who are working directly in the homes of families. So it's not the assumption of they might need it, or that they're seeing lots of people and they'll give it out to lots of people. It's somebody who's actually truly in the home and can see that that's where that need is. So we make these newborn packs up. So this is one of our ones. So it's got a little wee sticker on the front that said it's made. So this is where our newborn stuff comes. we put it together in a pack, and this goes to our local midwives. So rather than at the hospital, and this is where we had a conversation, there's a group here in Hawke's Bay who make packs available at the hospital. So instead of doubling up, we then work with the midwives to get woolies out.
Which makes such perfect sense.
It does, yep. So in the little pack, they get a little wee top, little pair of booties, little hat. So that's just a basic pack. And then we give these out to our midwives. How many have gone out? I've probably given 100 packs out this week, out to midwives going out, and blankets as well. Beautiful crocheted blankets. They'll head out to our midwives as well.
I'm glad you brought up blankets, because I know one of the things that we're getting lots of inquiry of is loads of people are knitting at the minute, and some are knitting for charity, and we get yarn that's out of stock, or you've got bits and pieces and scraps roaming around. So when it comes to charity knitting, we've got ones that get distributed like with midwives that you're talking about. And to be honest, they're not going to be terribly phased if there's some crazy funky looking stripes in there, or things are looking, some of the, actually I have to admit, some of the knits that have come back that we've seen in the store, I'm amazed at the creativity of what some of the knitters have done to actually complete a garment. And they kind of, do you remember like the Canterbury rugby jersey? Remember the crazy rugby jerseys that was so popular? You know what? They look fantastic, all they're really bright, crazy colours, and you know what? They don't mind. The mums and those that receive it are so delighted to get them. They honestly don't mind. Now, if you are a perfectionist and you want to get that item perfect, to be honest, that's where those items work really well for sale in places like hospice shop. The other one to also remember that we work with a lot as well is the Wellington Hospital and the Wellington Neonatal Trust. They have a shop there, and I know when they get yarn from us that it is a case of they have stuff that they have for their knitters to knit, like for you to go directly out to the community, and then they've got items that get knitted that get sold in a store, and those items need to be a little bit more of what, like a retail quality, as it were. So if you are one of those people, don't panic. You can do that. It doesn't need to be perfect. So that crochet, this is where the blankets are wonderful.
This is fabulous. As a mum, I would love this. And often people think that the traditional baby colours. No, our mums love them bright.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Oh, I love that. Exactly. Yeah.
This is what our gold standard jersey. This is called a fish and chip jersey. And the story behind it's really lovely. It was a Kiwi nurse who was in Kenya, up in the Highlands, working with families up there. And she found that when the babies were born and they were going home, to keep them warm at night, because it's cold up there at night, they'd wrap newspaper around them and then a blanket around, so the newspaper kept them warm, so calling it fish and chip. So the nurse wrote home to her Kiwi friends, her knitter friends, and said, I need a pattern. We need something that's quick and easy, and this is what it is. So we have this pattern, and it's up on our website that you can download it, and it's got all sorts of sizes. So this is our 6-month plus, even a 1-year-old would get into this one. Now, they don't look that pretty off. And when they're all in one colour, they can look a bit bland. But you stripe these, and they are fabulous.
Yeah.
And they're great. I love vests, and have put and I call this a vest, put my little boy in them from day dot, because I think they span the seasons a lot more. You can put, a little short sleeve top and this over top on those cold spring mornings. In winter, put something thicker underneath it. And then all the way through, autumn, you can spread it a lot further rather than a long sleeve top, which is really only good for those, here in Hawke's Bay, we don't get cold enough that we need those big heavy ones. So this is where this sort of style is really good. And this is similar sort of thing, but it has got longer sleeves, so this is a good winter one. Nice bright colours.
Look, I've made one for you over the break. Look, except I haven't got buttons on it.
I have buttons for Africa. Not worry about that.
See, I've done it short sleeve because of the bay.
Yeah, and you just put on a cold day, whack a vest, not a vest, turtleneck on them, throw that on, and they're woolly and warm and ready to go. Yeah, I love them. I think they're great.
Now, Annie's just asked here in the comments, do you have a pattern, or is there a link for the pattern for the cell crocheted blanket that you picked up?
This one here.
She's our regular hooker in chat.
This one, I will get it put up. This is one of our fabulous knitters, Nat, who's on our committee. This is her mum. And oh my God, this woman produces so many blankets. It is amazing. In fact, I've got another whole bag here from her as well.
Yeah.
And she just used this. This is her latest design that she's using. So I can't remember what it's called, but I will get you the link and send it to you.
And we'll put it in, and you'll pop it up in the Yarn Hawke's Bay page?
Yes, I'll pop it up on the Yarn. And this uses the same amount of wool if you were doing a corner-to-corner crocheted blanket. So it uses the same, but it's a lot denser. So it's not quite so wholly. Sometimes you find with the corner-to-corner one where those bits join, you often have a wholly bit, where this is a lot denser and it's quite thick.
Yeah.
Which is really great. And this size is fabulous. This is what we like size-wise. This is about 1 metre by 1 metre because if it lasts longer. So if you've got a little wee one in a bassinet, fold it in quarters, fold it bigger, and then on a single bed, you can still put that across them to keep them warm. And, you know, my boy's 5, and he's not the tallest kid in the world. He's a wee hobbit. But
he's adorable. We love wee William.
Yeah, adorable's not the word I've been using. You see me Monday morning when school opens.
I'm going to tell everybody a little secret about him. He's been coming into our store since he's been about, 18 months old, I suppose. Yeah. And his favourite thing to do in our old shop, because we were in our old shop then, we had these big things with these cupboards, and Sandra would be busy getting stuff with Claire or Karen or whoever was in there would be busy, and then we'd be like, where's it? And it all goes silent.
Yeah, that's where you worry.
They'd be like, where's William? And his favourite thing to do, we cottoned on after, I think, the first time, but his favourite thing to do was to terrify everybody. And, of course, we were terrified that he's gone out off into the mill.
He wasn't strong enough to open the door, so we were okay.
No, he used to go and hide in the stock cupboards. And I was amazed at how that boy could squeeze himself into the smallest little space.
Yep. He loves it, and he loves the wool. I've got photos of him when he was very little, and he would stand there. He'd grab my crochet, and he'd stand there. And once he started talking, and I'd say, "What are you doing, William?" And he'd say, "Knitting for babies." Too cute. God help me when he wants to actually learn. We'll see how that will go.
I've just put the Yarn Facebook link up in there for everybody. And thanks. And actually, in comment as well, there's loads of people actually popping up other links for places to go to, because that's just it. There's plenty of need out there, and some really incredible organisations which are able to actually get you from point A to point B. And
the need's so much bigger than we ever realised, and that's part of why we started the Yarny Army, because I had no idea. You think, okay, the amount is probably about 20%. Hawke's Bay, it's over 50%. Over 50% of babies here in Hawke's Bay go home to homes that are colder, and the family's income is lower, that they aren't able to provide everything that wee one needs. So that's why we're there to help. And it's also a lot of what we do with the blankets is re-education, because a lot of people will buy polar fleece. And I had no idea about that stuff till I was doing my antenatal classes. And the lady at the front said, "And you all know that's made from plastic?" And I thought, I had no idea about that.
Recycled models.
Right, we will correct this right away. So we work with groups where they have wee ones with them. So we're working with the teen parent unit, where the babies have a sleep during the day because they're there at the unit, and help replace all of the polar fleece. Or put it under the bed to stop the cold coming through, but having the wool on them. So closest to their skin is the wool. And that's the thing to, if you're knitting for charity, if you're knitting for wee ones under 6 months, it needs to be pure wool. It's important. That's probably the biggest thing. If they're over 6 months, at that point they're being able to regulate their temperature so they can stand mixing. So if we're doing something, I think everything I've got here today, our hats that we might be doing for school age, we might stripe them. Do some wool, beautiful pure wool in there, and a little bit of acrylic. If you're doing slippers, we do yummy wool and acrylic with it, because the acrylic will just give it that strength. those kids are going to be sliding on the floor in these and wearing them. So yeah, you need the acrylic for
and actually those slippers are, so those slippers are I mean, where I grew up we used to call those Mariah slippers. I mean, I don't know, there's a whole
we used to call them TV slippers.
Yeah, so those slippers are like the easiest thing in the world to do. Generally 2 DKs held double. For a 14 ply chunky, but where Sandra was saying, if you hold a natural fibre with an acrylic, it adds strength. Yes. But the other thing we can do too is you can also use non-treated wool. So things like Southlander, Perrindale, Cozy and Snug actually also work quite well because they're not shrink treated, it's an after treatment. Or there's the Snug, and they work brilliantly for those slippers because they're a bit tougher, and they will actually sort of the Velcro effect, as I call it, and they sort of, on that point where they hit the floor, it actually helps glue everything together, and you actually end up with it naturally felts across the bottom of the slipper, and they last for ages.
With these, we encourage people, don't make them for little wee ones who are just learning to walk, because they'll go sliding everywhere. So keep it for kids who are at kindy or school age. So this is part of our plan for this winter. We're just letting schools get back and get their heads around everything first. And then every Decile 1 school in Hawke's Bay will be making contact with, and hoping in the new entrance class to get a hat and a pair of slippers to every kid. That's our plan. Once we see what numbers come in, because that's been the tricky thing with us, is not being able to gauge how much we've got. So we hold, in fact, here in my shop, I have an entire room that is all Yarny Army stuff, and we hold it all here, and then out it goes in one lump. So with lockdown, it's been tricky to see what our numbers were. So post the other day that said, tell me what you've got so I can start figuring this out.
Yeah. And then just it too, it's all that planning and all that time. And that's the other side of it, as you were saying. It's celebrating those knitters. You've got some that just knit prolifically, but then you've got others that may not necessarily knit a lot, but they're able to provide you help in terms of their time and their expertise. So you don't necessarily have to be knitting anything to be useful. Even just being able to provide some time, whether it be helping you organise with packs or getting deliveries or all of those sorts of things, that's just as valuable as the knitting itself.
It so is, and I think we often forget that if you are giving of yourself with no requirements or anything, wanting anything back, then that is fabulous, and that's what we want. It means so much, and because I'm the one who often's giving it out, I see what it means. I had a midwife just about in tears standing there the other day, and I gave her a pack of 20 packs, and how many we gave her 10 blankets, so she had all of that, and she stood there and said, do I need to pay for this? I said, no, this is what we do. This is our gift, our woolly hug to you. And she was just so incredibly grateful. And what I love is often our packs, the same midwife said to me, that's the first item that baby is dressed in. So when these wee ones are born, the midwife gets the pack out because she knows that it's good wool and it's been made with love and care, and that wee one, when it first comes into the world, it is wrapped in a woolly gift from its community. And
especially this time of year too. This is the thing with COVID, I mean, we've had this lockdown, but we're now heading into this peak winter time where we are needing to keep these bubs warm, and it's going to be really really, really important. So now, has anybody else, I'm just actually, anyone else got any other questions for Sandra while I have her here? We've got some really good, Sylvia has popped in there, craftyvolunteers.org.nz is another really good one to check out. They are operating out of the Wellington area, and they coordinate with charities such as Little Sprouts, hospitals, slippers for children's, adults, and so on. So thank you, Sylvia. That's a brilliant link. Thank you so much for that. And Delene has also popped in here as well. She's involved in Featherston. Cool. And they do a lot of stuff through the local food bank in Plunkett, and she said there's also a demand there as well with nurses, particularly in aged care, looking for the knee rugs, and actually that's a really popular one, knee rugs for aged care, and hottie covers as well.
Really?
A lot of them still use, or actually the other one I've had too is hottie covers, but I've also had people knit wheat bag. You know how you've got the wheat bags? But knit wheat bag covers, because those wheat bags, you do need to wrap them in something because when they get heated, they're still very, very hot. So those are
idea. And that's what we encourage people to do. Knit for your community. Look after your community first.
So it's just a matter of having a little dig around and seeing out there. Sandra's asking, do you think there will be more need with COVID?
Massively. We're already seeing that the numbers have been growing, and just, it's going to get worse. It's going to get tougher. So being able to make things and get them out to those groups with that family, and like we said, taking it to the op shops. So giving those families that decency and the strength in themselves to be able to go and buy it for themselves. So being able to do that, because there's going to be a lot of
family. Yeah, there's a lot of families that have a sense of pride in the fact that they don't feel that they have needed to accept charity.
Yeah, and there's a lot who will not ask for it. You know, they don't want to go and ask. So by being able to provide stuff to those op shops, you are still helping them, but you're also allowing them to have that dignity of looking after their family themselves.
Oh no, that's fantastic. Now the other one too is actually just as a question, because what about people that have got hand knitted items that have actually been used before, they're not brand new? You will take those back as well?
Yeah, any hand knitted items, definitely. Second-hand clothing, again, take to those groups. We run out of space when we get second-hand clothing as well as woolies. Woolies, yes, if it's wool, we'll have it, definitely, and we'll get it to the right place. The other thing I will pop up on our website this afternoon and our Facebook, every item goes out with our little tag. So on our little tag, it says handmade for you and knitted by. So you could write your first name if you wanted to, what size it is, what it's made out of, just in case there's a wee one that can't tolerate wool. And then, and this is what you talked about the other week, is the washing instructions. And it says, wipe me with a damp cloth when I'm a little dirty and I'm good to go. Wash me when I need a really good clean. And then it's got your washing instructions. Lay flat to air dry. Please never iron me or put me in the dryer. And my favourite bit at the bottom, it says, please re-gift me when I'm no longer needed. So wouldn't it be lovely if one day in the far distant future we got to a point where everybody had a jersey?
Yes, it would be wonderful. And now if anyone is in there and also thinks that those tags are absolutely incredible, what Sandra is not telling you is she's also a graphic designer and owns the most incredible little print house in Hawke's Bay. So if you even want to, if you're doing a lot of knitting and you're wanting to actually have something designed simple like that, but personalised to reach out to you, you'll be able to do that. So make sure you put your details for print.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, and it's supporting little tiny businesses like us and like you guys. We my mad rush today is we support a lot of the hospitality here in Hawke's Bay and Havelock especially, and these guys are it's tough out there for a lot of people. So today we are madly printing for them, getting all their COVID signs up and getting all the bits ready to go, and
it's really
there's some hope out there, which is great too. There's often a lot of doom and gloom. In fact, I've had to turn the radio off and the TV off sometimes because as a little business owner, you're worrying, and you hear all the stats and figures, and you're worrying about lots of things. But then when you get out there and look, there's a lot of us going, okay, this is the Kiwi way. Let's pull our boots up. Let's get in there and get on with it.
And I think what you said before about in terms of if someone else is like away from Hawke's Bay is looking after charities in your own area, but I think in terms of mental health during this time too, like my husband and I were talking about it last night, and I've been a little bit like you. I've had to have periods where I literally don't look at my personal Facebook feed. I haven't been looking at different things because I just get too angry and too frustrated about not being able to control anything that's going on in the environment around us. And I think that's where I just have to then go, no, Marie, you just need to focus on what it is that you can control and what it is that you can do. And so for me, that's doing things like this, doing the diaries, working with the incredible team we have at Skeins, and just making sure that our little patch of paradise is okay.
Yeah, and knitting has been fabulous for me during lockdown, because of my anxiety's been like this, and I'm lucky I have a close group of friends who my Yarny babes, I call them, and we've been FaceTiming every second day with our knitting. We will sit there with our cups of coffee and with our knitting. In fact, this is my one that I finished. It's taken a
is that a certain one that was cast on during Cannes? Is that the canyon?
Yes, it was. I think. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
going for a very long time. It's been ripped back several times, but it's finally finished. And this is
Oh,
beautiful.
okay.
This is Clarissa's wool from For Dying Out Loud. So I love this. But
And
this,
that's is that close to you? Just in.
yes,
Yeah.
yep,
I'll
yeah,
put the link up for that.
yeah. But yeah, it took me a long time. But that was my thing during lockdown, was to just sit, chat to the girls, do my knitting.
Yeah.
Keep your brain, and that's the fabulous thing about what knitting does. And
Yeah.
that's, the great thing. Yes, we're helping all these fabulous kids out there, but we're also doing something that encourages mindfulness and quietness and keeping up those beautiful simple traditions and being connected with your community.
Well, I saw a figure today that something like more than a third of New Zealanders have learned a new skill whilst they've been in lockdown. And I certainly know from the inquiries that we've been getting at Skeins that knitting and crochet are very, very high on those lists. Or they've gone and dug out those latent skills that they haven't used in forever. And it's really, really good to see. It's so, so good to see.
Yeah, we've had a few inquiries on the YarnHB because we have our groups where we get together and we will teach anybody who wants to learn. We will spread that good virus everywhere. And we've had a few people say, when are you starting again? So then we can come and hang and learn some new skills. We will start those again when we get down to level 1. But right now we're saying to people, ring your close mates, get together, go and have a coffee, support those local businesses, get that one-on-one time, that you need with your mates.
Now, your print house, darling, what's your website address for that?
We're the print TPH HB, which stands for the Print House Hawke's Bay.co.nz. I'll send you a link.
No, I'm ready. I'm on. I tell you what, I have become so. Oh, there you are. Look at you. Look at you. I'm just going to fire this in here. I've just hit Annie's just asked us what that link is, and I've just gone on.
I will pop so we've got these little tags. I will adjust the file so then people can print it for themselves at home if they want. But you can always come and see me here at the Print House, and I will have tags for you. And next time I'm over to see you, Marie, I will bring tags for you.
So, we need to get on together. We've been talking. We've got so many ideas. Sandra and I talk about ideas all the time, and we're hamstrung by running multiple businesses in time.
Yeah,
we need
time.
Yeah. Hey, now look, well, before we go, and it was the last of the housekeeping that I didn't do, but I'm going because that's what I was taking photos of before when I was saying we'll do the housekeeping, and I went over to get it and didn't show people what it was. Is this?
Oh,
isn't it pretty? So this is called Carnation. It's a DK. It's 100% wool spun. It's actually essentially this is just like Chatswood, so it's spun exactly to the same count as Chatswood, same feel and handle as Chatswood. Utterly gorgeous. Best thing is same price as Chatswood, only $3.95.
Perfect.
And that has just gone up. I'm going to do a little tile for this and actually pop it out. I'm going to also, for everybody, I'm popping out a newsletter today as well. So when you see that in your inbox, people, I do not want you to ignore it. I want you to open it because in there will obviously be about what's happening with our opening, but also restocks, and I'm going to let you know about those as well. Just come in and up and loaded. Urban Deluxe, Cream, Mist, and Pale Pink are now back in stock. Herondale Pale Pink is now back in stock, and Mahana Tussock is now back. So
Mahana, I'm loving. That's what I'm with at the moment.
I love, Mahana is just one of my absolute favourites as well. So those restocks are definitely coming through. So thank you for everyone for being so patient on those. And thank you, Sandra, for taking the time to join us today. I am going to do tomorrow, Quarantine Diaries tomorrow is going to be from the shop. I'm going to get in there and join everybody from 11 install when we're open. So if you're actually in and you see this crazy lady standing in the side room talking to herself with a laptop on a perched on, if you see the setup, it's hilarious. That'll be me. Don't panic. That's what I'll be up to. So I'm going to do that from tomorrow, and I'm just working on my new plan to hatch in terms of I'm going to keep these going, and it's probably going to be called the Skeins Diaries, and we're going to do those every couple of weeks, and we'll keep in touch, keep our communities alive, because this is what it's about, isn't it, Sandra? Keeping
It is keeping connected.
Yeah, and being connected. Hey, thank you very much to Sandra and her team.
Welcome.
I'll
Thank
put
you.
those links up in the comments. But Sandra, the biggest one in there is to her Facebook page. Do make sure you go and join that, and you'll be able to get any information that you require. So thanks very much, team. Bye, Sandra.
Bye.
We'll see everybody here tomorrow, same time, same place, but different location on the Quarantine Diaries.